guys, this is our first episode ever of
Scary Stories to Tell in Your Pajamas.
Today we're going to talk about Ed and Lorraine Warren. Frauds are saviors. We don't know. We're pretty excited.
I'm Naomi.
I'm Sandra.
And this is Freaking Geeked.
Let's get a little freaky.
Let's get just a little bit freaky.
Just a little bit freaky.
Action.
Before we start, don't forget to subscribe and like below.
Did we already say this is Freaking Geeked?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, shit. Part of me.
I was like, wait, what are we doing?
I'm like,
here?
wait, what's happening? Where are we? So I actually know nothing about Ed and Lorraine. She knows all the research and stories and stuff like that. So I'm kind of just going to be listening today and reacting. And I'm kind of like been super excited about this because I always knew they were real people. I just don't know anything about the backstory. So I think it's going to be really cool to learn. I hope you feel the same way.
Yeah, I know. It's been pretty tough because I've been wanting to talk to her about this all week while I was doing research. And I'd be like, oh, did you know? And then I'd be like, oh, wait.
Yeah, I kept having to be like, don't tell me. I don't want to know.
And I was like, save it. I have no one to talk to about this. But now I get to.
Here's your therapy session.
Here's my therapy session.
This is Bugsy too, by the way.
Aww.
Here's Bugsy. He's going to be hanging out behind me while we do this because he's really needy.
And cute. He's so ugly. He's cute.
I was going to say, she just called him like ugly 3 times earlier.
He is very ugly, but it makes him cute.
Listen to it, buddy.
Pretty ugly. Boop. Well, let's talk about Ed and Lorraine Warren. So, who is Ed and Lorraine Warren? Were they saviors sent to save families from demonic entities, or were they simply frauds who took advantage of society's curiosities of the paranormal? Dun, dun, dun. You don't know anything about Ed and Lorraine.
Just the fact that they were together and they did paranormal investigation. Just kind of what I'd seen from like the Conjuring movies or Anabelle or stuff like that. You know, that's really all I know. So
I love Ed and Lorraine Warren in the Conjuring movies, but let's go ahead and talk about them a little bit. So Ed was born on September 7th, 1926 and passed away August 23rd of 2006. Lorraine was born January 31st of 1927 and passed away on April 18th in 2019. They were married in 1945 and they actually stayed married until Ed passed away in 2006. So that's about 51 years.
51 years, yeah.
Or actually maybe more. Let's see, 45 to 95 would be 50, so like 61 years.
And you said she died in 2018?
She died in 2019.
2019.
So fairly recently.
Dang, that's a long time to be without your forever.
I know. I definitely feel like in the Conjuring movies, they're very, they seem like a very strong couple.
Yeah.
And I'm really hoping that that was the truth.
Yeah.
In real life.
Yeah, I was curious about that too. 'Cause they do seem like really big power couple, you know, and they care a lot for each other. So, but they were a little crazy, I heard, I guess is.
Well, yes, unfortunately.
You're like, let's get there.
Definitely in the Conjuring movies, seemed like they had a good relationship. Unfortunately, it wasn't the case.
No!
I mean, I'm sure there was good parts and bad parts. I mean, you have to think. 61 years of marriage, I feel like there was probably good and bads.
Yeah.
To that relationship, because
as there is to most.
Yeah, I mean, me and Charles have been together for 12 years, and that's taken work. So,
yeah.
And we've had good and bad already in that short amount of time.
And I feel like under probably the stress that they put themselves in together, and like, you know, just all the bad negative energies they were around, like I can imagine.
Yep. Doing a little research on them, during the making of The Conjuring, Lorraine had it written in her contract that her and Ed could not be shown having affairs or engaging in crimes, one in which case may have included a minor. I don't want to go into much detail to that. That was one of the things I had to call you for because I didn't know how PG we were going to keep this. But there were accusations made against Ed.
That was really upsetting.
That was upsetting to me because
really upsetting.
I feel like the reason we got into this is I listen to a lot of podcasts and a lot of Ed and Lorraine's stories are very famous. Yeah. And I've listened to different stories that they investigated. So, and you know, a few of them like involved murder and stuff like that kind of led to the hauntings and things like that. But that is one thing I did not know. Yeah. So I didn't do too much digging in that, and I also didn't know if we wanted to talk about it too much. But it is something that I'm probably gonna research later on.
Yeah, that does kind of suck because I feel like they're looked up to a lot in like these movies, and they're out like they make them and look out to be like these great people and stuff, and you know, that does suck to find out that somebody that you think is a pretty cool, popular figure ends up being just another creep.
I would say that it is a little damning, I guess would be the word, that, you know, that was part of the contract that they weren't able to show those in the movies. So I definitely think something must have happened. It didn't say when I was kind of just briefly going through that anyone was arrested. So Ed and Lorraine were the OGs of ghost hunting. Both encountered supernatural very young. I believe Ed had his first encounter at 5 years old. He had claimed that the house he grew up in was haunted. And then Lorraine started noticing her psychic ability when she was 12 years old.
Do you say that you would say that you have like similar abilities, or is it a little different?
You know, I feel like I definitely would consider myself like a clairvoyant, and I think that was very similar into what Lorraine did. I feel like I'm not, like, if what she did was real and like some of the stuff we see in the movies, I would say that I'm maybe not as strong as her.
Yeah.
I also would say that I'm a lot more chicken than her, because like I don't talk about it in this story, but the nun, while I was briefly going through this, the nun was actually a spirit that she claims to see in real life in a graveyard.
Actually turned out to be Borley Church that Lorraine Warren saw the nun at, and not a graveyard. So, in your face, Sandra. Anyways, back to the show.
I know that was like a real entity that she claims to see. I would fucking lose my shit.
I always wondered too, like, how much of like her abilities in the movie were over exaggerated, and like what she could actually do or see or communicate with, you know?
Like, I've definitely seen things, and I definitely came across things that were pretty scary, but if I came across the nun or like had like Anabelle like in my house or something, like, I don't know if I could be brave like them. It might take a while. And we even learned that we did our first investigation. I don't want to give any of it up because we will be releasing that, but
let's just say somebody wouldn't go somewhere by themselves, but the other two people would go by themselves.
And I feel like you mostly did it because you were grumpy.
I feel like
we had to go back for a lighter, and you were just like, I'll go do it. And I was like, you're going by yourself?
I'm like, it, dude.
I was just like, what? You're gonna go? Like, we didn't even dare you or anything. You just went.
Because we already had to go back for like the weed or something, and then I was like, damn it, dude. And then I was like, f it, like, I'm gonna try something new. Like, I feel like I do want to push myself to be a little less scared.
Me too. I actually thought about it after I got home. I was like, damn it. Because I am such a daredevil, and if like people like triple dog dare me, I've like never really like will turn down from a dare. But you guys did dare me, and I got really scared.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because we do smoke weed and it like increases your like anxiety.
Sometimes. I don't know. Whatever.
I was like, what if I see like that old lady? I guess we shouldn't give too much, but
we need to get. Yeah. Don't say anything.
Sorry.
Don't say anything.
But it will be coming out soon, so make sure to like and subscribe, like we said in the beginning. Back to Ed and Lorraine. Yes. So Lorraine discovered her psychic ability when she was 12. She was part of the Catholic Church, so her parents actually considered her gift a sin.
Basic.
I was like, sounds about right.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
So I thought this was really cute. So when Lorraine and Ed met, they met in 1943, and Lorraine said when she first met Ed, she knew they were gonna spend the rest of their lives together. Like, she knew from the first time seeing him that she knew that. So that was kind of cool because cute. Like, I don't know, they were married for a long time, so that was kind of like powerful. So 2 years before they even got married, she knew that they would spend the rest of their lives together.
That's what we all hope for, except apparently there was cheating and other
dark stuff. But like I said, like, I feel like, you know, people are so quick to judge, and like, as far as like if a kid was involved, like, fuck that's fucked up.
Yeah,
but we don't know 100%. And if that wasn't involved, like, as far as like 61 years, like, a lot could happen.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty crazy. That's like twice my age, almost triple yours.
Yeah, almost.
Like, a lot of shit could happen in that amount of time.
Old.
I feel like nothing's ever perfect.
Yeah, and
like,
we also, what you read on the internet or see
in movies
isn't always accurate, and even articles that are written about them, you'll never really know what the relationship was genuinely like unless you were in their relationship.
But that's just stuff that we find, you know. So I think that is like important information to know, but you can't judge everything based on it. Ed and Lorraine, you would find them anywhere that was haunted. They were said to take on over 10,000 paranormal cases. They handled many famous cases that later influenced major blockbuster movies. The Conjuring, Annabelle, Amityville Horror.
The Nun? No.
The Nun?
Yeah, the
Technically,
Nun too.
because like I said, I thought that one was just like kind of something they made up along the Conjuring and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But no, apparently it's a real person or a real thing, that entity that Lorraine Warren claims she has seen. So
Awesome. Great.
So after learning about the real cases that Ed and Lorraine were investigating, there are reoccurring patterns of embellishment and exaggerations to gain fame and money. People often point out the lack of evidence and how successful Ed and Lorraine became from their encounters. A lot of people, point out that there wasn't much like evidence in a lot of their cases. It was a lot of hearsay, but they claim to have like contacted the Catholic Church. And then when they reach out to said Catholic Church to see if they worked with Ed and Lorraine, the church would be like, they never even contacted us. There's a lot of different things. There's a lot of theories.
Okay. Couple of liars.
I don't know. For me, I feel like it was entertainment, and I don't think maybe necessarily all of it was fake.
Yeah.
But it was kind of, you have to think, they were like one of the first like ghost hunters.
Yeah.
And I feel like they were able to kind of play off that and like be very successful.
Yeah. And over exaggerating some things or little tiny lies here and there that might help their business or whatever.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's
Makes
business,
it more interesting,
baby.
Right?
The first case I'm going to cover of Ed and Lorraine, one of their more famous ones, I think, especially like in our generation, is Anabelle.
Yeah.
So, Anabelle, this happened in 1970. And so, Anabelle, so I put this down because I think this is like so crazy. So to this day, Anabelle is still locked in a glass case.
Oh God.
That says, warning, positively do not open.
Why did it say that on there?
Apparently she's possessed by like a demonic force. And Ed and Lorraine, that museum that you see in the Conjuring
They have all
series,
this scary stuff.
that actually exists.
Ooh, I can imagine what like being in that room would feel like. That would be crazy.
So, I wanted to ask you,
okay.
for $1 million, would you open that case?
God. Dude, what if I die? Like, with $1 million isn't gonna... Well, I guess it depends. I've seen the movie version of Anabelle. I don't know the real story yet on what actually happened. So I feel like once we get to the end of the story, if there's like deaths that came with the doll, then it's probably not worth $1 million. But if it was just like a couple of scares, some things like that, then maybe. But there's a reason why they're locked up, and I feel like I've seen enough movies to know that you probably shouldn't open things if they say don't open. So, would you?
I don't know. You've seen how big of a chicken I could be.
Yeah.
But I also feel like I've been forced to see scary spirits throughout my life. So, might as well get paid $1 million.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I will say, like, I've been pretty lucky in my, like, adulthood where I've been able to control it and not see some of the things. It's not as, like, just popping up in, like, my hallway and shit.
Yeah.
Which is nice. And maybe I wouldn't want to deal with that again. But $1 million...
That would be life-changing.
And one thing, I do know the story.
Yeah, you know the story, so that's, you have to ask me after.
Yeah, so okay, I'll ask you again after. That's a good point.
But I had a question. Yeah, would you stay the night in that room for like a week or something? Or
for $1 million?
Yeah.
For $1 million, sure.
No, for
just for fun.
Just for fun. I was gonna like put a
but by yourself
price.
or like
let's say
yes.
Yeah,
like if I had someone to stay with me, or would I have to stay by myself?
You'd have to stay by yourself for one night. One night by yourself in that room. But no money. Let's say like, if you do this, your career will like kick off. You know, like that will be what makes our podcast blow up or something, and like we're successful. And become successful.
Wow.
You might have to sell your soul while you're in there.
I feel like if I was given that opportunity and you knew about it, you would like hype me up.
Yeah.
But I think at first I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do this. Like if I was seeing like all the stuff from like that movie and like, you know, you see the Anabelle doll, you see like we were just watching the new one when we were hanging out the other day, and they had like the samurai.
Yeah, a bunch of them came alive in that room and shit.
And so looking at that, I'd be like, I don't think I could do it. But if you're like, come on, Sandra,
you
like,
got this.
You got this. Like
for our career.
I'd be like, okay, I could do this, and I think I would do it.
Okay.
But I think I would probably be like trying to fall asleep and like cover my head and just like try to like.
Don't lie, you'd be snoring.
Maybe
she does that.
I do
on
that.
Investigations only. Okay, back to the story of Anabelle.
So Anabelle. So unlike, I think you knew this part because we talked about this a little bit, and I think this is what kind of led us to do this episode. So Anabelle was not a porcelain doll.
Yeah, she was just one with rag dolls, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know what those rag dolls are called?
They're called, I do, and I just said, I had one. They were called, and I'm blanking. My grandma used to have them for me. I swear I said this, Raggedy Ann?
Yes.
Yes, I was like, they're called Raggedy Ann dolls, yes.
Yeah, which my mom used to collect Raggedy Ann and Andy dolls, because Andy's the boy version of Raggedy Ann. And if you guys have ever seen these dolls, they're not very scary. They're pretty, I don't know, they were like stuffed animal dolls.
Yeah.
They were always cute to me.
I mean, I don't know. I thought they were always, like, I don't think they were, like, scary. I think they were weird looking, though, sometimes, you know. But, like, I had some growing up. My grandma had them, gotten them for us, and I didn't, like, feel scared of them. Mm-hmm. The Annabelle doll, where did that, like, come from? Like, where did they have the idea of Annabelle, the porcelain doll?
I think, honestly, for me, I think a porcelain doll is much more creepy.
Yeah.
I think I was telling you that night, but my grandma would buy me porcelain dolls to collect growing up. And her and my great aunt really, they would spend good money on them. They'd have like nice dresses. They were just very realistic.
Yeah.
And so I feel bad because to them it was like very nice gifts that they were getting me. But I was deathly afraid of these dolls because their eyes are glass. They look real. And my mom would put them on shelves like in my whole room. Like I had tons of them from them buying them for my birthday, Christmas, all this stuff. And my mom started getting freaked out because I was so terrified of them. I would face them against the wall. Because
that makes it freaky. If I walked into my kid's room and all of her dolls were flipped around, or all like upside down, hanging from their necks or something, dude, that would be crazy.
Yeah, my mom came in and I had them all facing the wall because I had this music box one, and you would like wind her up and she would like move. Oh. Like as she like, and it would like stop when after the winding like went down. But in the middle of the night, it started going off. I was asleep, so I hadn't wound it or anything, and it started, like, moving. And it freaked me out, and I kept, like, it happened, like, 2 times. And after that, I just got so spooked, I turned all my dolls around.
Was this the house in New Mexico?
Not the one I was telling you about, but on the same river.
Yeah.
And that area is very haunted.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. I feel like we should have my porcelain doll behind us.
Yes, actually, I got to that.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny. This is her porcelain doll is actually a part of my notes here.
Really?
Yes.
She's cute, and she has a pretty dress and cute hair.
This doll is missing her eye. She is very cute.
Yes. And she's going to hang out with us. This is Debbie the demonic doll.
So yeah, my mom comes in. All my dolls are facing the wall. And my mom's like, do you not like these? Like, my mom's scared.
Yeah.
My mom's like, what the? She's like, what the fuck? She's like, Sandra? I think she thinks I'm possessed or something. She just walks in and I was like, yes. Like a little kid. Like I was like 9 years old. I'm like, yes. And she was like, what's going on? And I was like, told her the story about the little musical one and that I was scared. And then immediately she's like relieved. She's like, okay, my kid's not like possessed and like crazy and gonna murder us all.
Maybe.
But it was good because I think I scared her so much. She took all those dolls out of my room. Finally, after I had been begging her, I was like, kept trying to tell her I was like scared of these dolls. But I think she felt bad because my grandma had been getting them. So she made me keep them. But after that event, she took them all. Thank goodness. So yes, I do think they picked like the porcelain doll just because it was a little more creepier. I mean, honestly though, if we would have known the story when we were children with the Raggedy Ann dolls, we probably would have been just as scared. Yeah. But we didn't know about the story then. No. And they kind of seem a little more
I don't even think when we were kids those movies were out.
Especially, I mean, definitely not me.
I mean, I don't know. When did those movies come out?
I think it came out like 2014.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely was
I think that's when they started coming out.
Yeah.
Let's get into Anabelle a little more. So the original Anabelle was bought in an antique store as a graduation gift from a mother to a daughter. The student's name was Donna. Donna was 28 years old when she was gifted Anabelle. It was a graduation
She's
present.
28?
She was graduating nursing school.
Oh, okay.
And her mom bought it for her as a graduation gift. Maybe like to remind her of her childhood, I'm assuming. But Donna apparently loved the doll.
Bugsy doesn't like the doll.
Maybe she is possessed, dude. Maybe that's why that lady was selling them for so cheap.
When I brought the doll in, like, Bugsy saw it in my hand, and he was like,
really?
Yeah.
After Donna graduated, she moved in with her roommate, and she loved Anabelle. Like, loved the doll. Did not want to get rid of it, and they started experiencing weird things, her and her roommate. So the doll would move from where they had last set it. So imagine you leave your doll there, find her sitting in the next room when you come home.
Cool. Yeah. Super mad chill.
That wasn't just like, oh, maybe she fell over. No, they were finding her in different rooms. They started finding, I don't know why this part's so funny to me, but they started finding like cryptic, like, notes left behind that looked like it was in children's like handwriting.
Oh my god.
And they'd be like, help me. And it'd be like, or help Lou, who was like Donna's boyfriend, I believe. But,
that's creepy,
like,
though.
Yeah, like, help me. I'd be like, whoa, what the fuck? Like in a children's handwriting, like I just feel like finding it with like crayon.
Oh,
you know
like
I mean?
a crayon or something, like a little piece of paper?
It just said like in kids' handwriting, like children's handwriting.
I don't know if I was
So I imagine
that
a
funny.
crayon.
I think I'd be like really freaked out. I'd be like, I don't have a kid. I don't. It's just staring at it.
Look at his ears too.
He's guarding it for sure. If that thing moved at all, Bugsy would be on.
She would like tear it apart.
Yeah.
So yes, Donna and her roommate started experiencing the notes, things like that. They decided to find a medium, and the medium did a reading for them, and the medium told them that the doll was possessed by a young child, and that the young child actually liked living with Donna and her roommate, and like wanted to stay living in the doll.
Okay. All right.
And it's made it seem very
Creepy.
harmless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I personally still don't know if I'd like just would want that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like
kids.
leaving me notes saying "help me." I mean, like, you don't seem like you're having like a chill time. Like
You don't seem like you're enjoying this at all.
yeah. Like you actually seem like you might need help. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's
and
just-
I can't help you.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's just my personal opinion. I don't know.
So that medium made it seem very harmless.
Mm-hmm.
And they decided to keep the doll. And they started treating the doll like a little girl.
Oh well, there you go.
And that's where I had your doll in my notes because I was like, I get to see Naomi. Like apparently something's up with this doll. Like the dog does not like it.
Yeah.
She's gonna start taking it to bars with her.
Petting its hair, having it sleep, get it like a little nursery bed.
I'm gonna come over and I'm gonna be like, hey, where's Ezra? And you'll be like,
We don't need Ezra anymore.
holding the doll. I'm like, oh, lovely. Where is he though?
Bugsy's gonna be like floating upside down or something in the background.
I'm like, okay, Bugsy, come on, buddy.
I'm gonna taking the dogs. I'm gonna leave.
But yeah, so they started treating the doll like a kid, like anyone would do.
Yeah,
I mean, seems like a good idea.
normal, super normal for sure. Chill.
And especially like a roommate. It's not even like a partner. Like it'd be weird if like I'd be like, hey, this doll, there's a little girl trapped in it. Do you want to like help me take care of it?
Yeah, you want to be like co-parents?
Do you want to be co-parents on this?
Be a little fun.
Why we're
to our
nursing?
demonic baby.
Yeah.
Seems great.
So, as the more the nicer they treated this doll, the more they did for it, the more crazy, like, the events got.
Seems like it really wasn't working out for them. I don't know why they were being nice to the dolls.
Yeah. It's kind of like what you said. Like, it doesn't seem like you're happy here. Let me just take you in and, buy you ice cream.
Right. That's gonna work out.
Not working out for them by any means. What they actually ended up doing is they called Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Dun, dun, dun.
So Ed and Lorraine Warren comes in to save the day. They do a reading for them and they say that the doll was not inhabited by a young girl. That it was actually inhabited by a demonic entity. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they said that the demonic entity not only wanted to possess this doll, it was actually looking for a human host that it could infest. So it was just kind of using the doll as a portal to find a human.
Them, yeah.
I didn't write this in my notes, but one of the articles I was reading said that maybe the demon was smart enough and realized that it could like manipulate that other medium into thinking that it was a girl.
Yeah.
A little girl.
So which, I mean, she was tricked. That makes sense, I guess. Yeah.
Like, it tricked her, but Ed and Lorraine Warren, they're too good. They're too good. They know a demon when they see a demon. They say that this doll is possessed, wants a human host, and these people are like, that. Yeah. We do not want this little girl demon doll anymore. Yeah. So Ed and Lorraine take the doll, and that's where it is now in the case. But what is interesting is there has never been any record of any of the people that encountered this telling their side of the story. So Donna, her roommate, and then also Lou, who was, I think, her boyfriend from other stories I've read. Yeah. Lou got it the worst. Her boyfriend, he actually went to the hospital. So he apparently had unseen chest injuries where he couldn't breathe. They rushed him to the hospital. I think he was in the hospital for a few days. And I think that's when they finally went and got Ed and Lorraine, because it had got that crazy.
What other kind of things happened?
Well, there was one point that Donna came home and found blood on the back of Annabelle's hands.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and she has no idea where it came from.
Sweet, yeah. All right.
And that was before Lou got hurt. And then Lou goes to the hospital. They get Ed and Lorraine involved.
So nothing. They never said anything about it to anybody for the movies or anything?
As far as I know, I couldn't find anything stated by any of the three stating that this actually happened to them. I did find some articles stating that Donna and her mom, and the mom's the one that bought Anabelle from the antique store, did do interviews with Ed and Lorraine and maybe interviews with some other people, but I couldn't find any of them.
Okay. So and that's the story?
That's pretty much the story.
Just some weird creepy stuff happened and they took the doll? Yeah. They never did any like exorcisms or anything else? Just one meeting of them talking to them?
Yeah. It kind of seemed like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they could have done an exorcism. I don't know. But the point of this is honestly, yeah, that is pretty much the story.
Yeah.
And this kind of goes through what we talked about in the beginning with the lack of evidence.
Yeah.
And so I feel like a lot of people believe that maybe Ed and Lorraine Warren made up this story, because really the only people we have telling us this story is Ed and Lorraine.
Yeah. I feel like after all these years of that movie being so popular, God, I can't talk, dude. Being so popular, like, if that were me, I mean, I guess everyone's different. Like, I would maybe tell the story or go on an interview once, tell a story. Like, if I was Donna or whatever. I mean, everyone, has different views and opinions and might not be comfortable doing that. But, like, yeah, I guess if there's really no evidence that any of that happened, how do you know?
I mean, I feel like, it could be them creating the story for notoriety, I think would be the word. Or, like you just said, maybe they didn't feel comfortable being in the media. Yeah. Like, maybe they didn't really care to be like, because Ed and Lorraine were pretty famous back then. Like, some people would be like, no, that's not for me. So maybe that's why they never wanted to come forward. And also maybe they were traumatized and like didn't want to talk about it. Yeah, so what do you think?
I think after all that, yeah, I would open that for $1 million. Yeah.
Okay.
I think now that I'm like, okay, just a couple things happened. Sure, I mean, I could put it back. So, I don't know.
Like, just lock her up in a glass case after?
I don't think it's going to be like the movies where, like, as soon as I take the doll out, I'm going to, like, fly off into the ceiling and, like, my neck's going to bend backwards and I'm going to be, like, possessed. You know what I mean?
But what if that did happen?
Then I took that risk, I guess.
Yeah. We'll be like, she played us good.
Yeah,
she made it seem so simple, and then we open it and we're just like, So, as far as Anabelle, there is a lot more we could add to this story, but we are going to go on to a few other investigations that Ed and Lorraine did, and then later on we're going to individually do these stories as their own episode, and I also probably will do another episode on just Ed and Lorraine Warren specifically. Yeah. But this is kind of an introduction just to give you guys a brief history, things that they've done, and then we could go from there.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to the next story. This is the Perron family. This happened in 1974. You would have seen this story if you ever watched the first Conjuring movie.
Ooh, yes. Yeah.
So I just want to say that the first Conjuring movie, when that movie came out, how old were you? I think it was 2014.
I was 14.
So, okay, yeah. So you're 2000. Did you watch it in theaters?
No. I was
No?
I was like in a really Christian household when I grew
Okay.
up. There's no way I would have been able to watch that.
Yeah, I think 2014, that makes sense. I was, no, it must have came out in 2013. It must have came out in 2013 because I remember it was right before, the year before I moved to Portland.
No.
And so I was 22. I was 22. And when I watched that movie, it was one of the scariest movies I had ever seen. Like, as far as like a paranormal movie, like that wasn't like a slasher movie, because slasher movies are like, it's hard for me to watch them. I do love watching them, but I watch them like this, you know?
Yeah, at the like really gruesome parts, yeah.
But I feel like The Conjuring was like the first movie that was like super scary as like a paranormal movie.
Yeah.
Except for The Exorcist, because that movie is fucking scary. So we talked about this earlier when we were speaking about Lorraine, but she was a consultant on the first Conjuring. She worked with the directors and things like that.
Okay, cool.
And she does state that the events in the movie did in fact happen.
Okay.
So she claims, and I mean, that movie's pretty fucking scary.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's the clapping scene? I don't know, like, that would be unreal.
Give me the third clap.
What about the scene with the mom? When she, like, that part, when she has, like, that pillowcase over her head.
Oh,
and she's
yeah.
tied to the chair and she, like, spits blood into the pillowcase and then it, like, rips open.
That's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
did that actually happen? I do wonder. And then the like, that's a closet one, right? Too, where she's like on top of the closet.
Yeah, and that armor type thing.
Yeah.
And she's like,
Yeah, dude.
but it's like a quick, like, yeah.
Yeah.
That movie's, I don't know. But she states everything, like, happened in that movie.
Yeah. I'm sure a little bit of it was over exaggerated, but I'm sure
Yeah.
the basis of it.
I mean, some of it. So, this actually, let me see if I say it right now. Hold on one second. Let me get caught up here. So this story actually holds up the most in the Warrens' catalog of investigations. So this actually has the most evidence of actually happening.
Okay.
Isn't that crazy?
That's cool. There you go.
Yeah. So she states that, which this movie's pretty fucking scary. And this one actually has like the most evidence behind it. So the family still insists that they did experience the haunting, and of course not to the extent of the movie. And the oldest daughter actually has written a few books about their experiences.
Cool.
So,
What are the books called?
I didn't look it up. Do you want to Google it real quick?
Yeah. Okay, it's called House of Darkness, House of Light. That'd be cool to get those and read those.
Read 'em, yeah.
Yeah.
So she wrote a few books on it. The family still insists that it happened. So in 1971, the Perron family moved into a 14-bedroom farmhouse in Rhode Island. Carolyn and Roger were the parents, and they moved in with their 5 daughters. A 14-bedroom house.
Yeah, I was when you said that was like 14 bedrooms.
That'd be
Who?
a huge house.
It
And
didn't
then,
even look that big. 14 bedrooms in that house?
but it has a basement and probably like upstairs. I bet
Oh,
that's
yeah.
2 stories right there.
Yeah. Dude, it would be so cool to be able to stay in that house. It'd be really freaky though.
After moving in, strange occurrences started happening, objects being moved, weird noises, and eventually the girls started seeing spirits inside the house. So supposedly, Carolyn did research on the history of the house, and it had been the same family living on that property for 8 generations.
Okay.
So they were the first...
They were there for a while, then hand me down.
Yep, so they were the first family, it seemed, that wasn't related to the family that had lived there for the 8 generations. And during her research, she had found that many of them had died in bizarre ways, especially children, and apparently found that some children had drowned in the nearby creek, one of the children was murdered, and other children had hanged themselves downstairs.
Oh my god.
So this is all allegedly.
Why children? So there's no proof that that's how they died or what?
Well, there is some proof behind it, but in the article I had found this information on, they had said that this was all allegedly, that she did all this research.
Okay.
But there is truth behind it. So you know the Bathsheba? She was the spirit that was possessing the mom. I thought that this was like a name for a witch.
Yeah. It's a really old school name.
So it was a real person.
Yeah.
So Bathsheba Sherman was a woman that did live on the Perron's property.
When did she live there?
So she lived there during the mid 1800s. She was accused of being a Satanist, and she was also accused of having something to do with her neighbor's child's death.
Okay. So she was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I moved into the right house. Was she or was she not part of the 8 generations of...
She was.
Was she the beginning? Or, I don't know.
She was like towards the end, I believe. That's pretty spooky.
That's pretty scary.
Yeah.
So that's the one that was possessing the mom, though, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the spirit in the movie that's possessing the mom.
I feel like things would be a lot stronger for sure if they had to do with, like, satanic worship rather than just, like, a spirit. Like, I feel like that would definitely make more sense for more weird shit to happen for people who are actually... like worshiping Satan inside the house. And
especially if it was like a family that had passed on these beliefs like generation after generation, because I feel like if you actually look at like a Satanist, a lot of times they're pretty much atheists. They don't really believe in anything.
Yeah. Right?
And sometimes them worshiping Satan is a way as kind of like mocking like church and state.
Yeah.
Just, like you grew up in a very religious household, like kind of mocking like the presidents behind religion.
Yeah.
Right? But they don't really believe in anything. But then there's other like satanic stuff where they're doing these rituals, which I kind of look at as like someone like me. I study like Wiccan and very spiritual and like do like little things every day, right? Like whether it's working with my tarot, meditating, things of that nature. But if you have these families that are doing these like cult-like or
sacrifices or crazy worshiping,
and they're doing these
sacrifices,
and it's like generational, like they have been doing it, I could see it being very strong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
it definitely builds up in
there. It's this intention that's building and building.
Yeah. And almost becomes a home for
evil, dark entities and dark power. That is, to me, was pretty scary that that woman actually existed.
And she said she did this before she moved in?
So she did this after they moved in.
Oh, okay.
Once they started seeing things, because she, again, I'm grazing a lot of these stories.
Yeah.
Not all the details are there, but
we'll go more in depth in a different video.
She was experiencing stuff herself before the girls were. Like her broom would be moved, or things would be moved on her, or she would hear this scratching noise on her like kettle on top of the stove when nothing was there. She was experiencing that, and then her daughter started to, and then allegedly she did all that research and found that out. So
I'd be like, let's get out of there right now.
So let's leave.
Yeah.
Toodaloo, I'm out of here. So after everything they experienced and, finding out that Bathsheba was an actual person, pretty terrifying.
Yeah.
The family reached out to no other than
Ed and Lorraine.
You got it. You're catching on.
I've seen the movie.
Catching on. So Ed and Lorraine offered their help, came in, and then eventually was kicked out by the dad. Like, he basically told Ed and Lorraine to, like, get out. So
he didn't believe it, or what?
No. So what had happened is, and the daughter actually says this actually happened. Okay. So basically, Ed and Lorraine came in and, of course, was like, this place is possessed. Like, there's definitely demons here and blah, blah, blah. So Lorraine did a seance. In the movie, they show them doing a whole exorcism.
Okay.
But they actually didn't do an exorcism because only the Catholic Church could do that. They did a seance. And during the seance, Carolyn starts speaking in tongues. And the daughter, what'd you say her name was? Andrea?
Andrea, yeah.
Andrea says that she heard her mom speak a language that she had never heard before. Roger, Carolyn's husband, kicked Ed and Lorraine out because he was worried about his wife's mental health. And he felt that he was actually they were making the hauntings increase and worse. So he kicked him out, and they continued to live in the house with the hauntings until 1980.
When did you say they moved in?
So they started experiencing this in 1971, and then 1974 is when Ed and Lorraine got involved. So they still continued to stay in the house for 6 years longer. What? Until they could afford to move. So they didn't have enough money to move.
Oh.
Maybe it was like the property, it is a 14-bedroom fucking house.
Yeah, dude, that's gotta be expensive.
Like, they probably, from what I understood, they didn't have enough funds to move out. So they stayed until 1980. But I'm sorry. Have you watched that movie? If I had to live in that house For 9 years. I would rather live on the street. I don't care if I had 5 girls. We are living in a tent near to the river. Like,
well, I feel like especially because you have 5 girls, like putting them in a house that's gonna traumatize them, you know? Feels like,
But, I think, what I kind of got from hearing that information is it makes you wonder, because it is one of the scariest movies. Was this embellished?
Yeah.
Because I think Ed and Lorraine had a way of, like, some of it was real. Like, apparently this has, like, a lot of evidence of, like, these things did happen, right? But I think Ed and Lorraine exaggerated things to make it more interesting.
Yeah.
And I think this is kind of proof of it, because I'm sorry, if that Conjuring movie, everything happened in that movie, I would not stay there for 9 years.
Yeah.
I would live in my car with all 5 of my girls and my husband, and if he didn't like it, he could stay in the house, but I'm not.
You tell him, girl.
And so I definitely feel like this shows, like, the way they could exaggerate things.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes a good point, Ed and Lorraine, are they good people? Ed and Lorraine, are they frauds? Are they actually experiencing these hauntings? And I think it's a little of both. I think that some of the stuff's real, and then they embellish it to gain fame, keep people interested. Like, how are you gonna keep someone interested? And, like, they were all over TV.
Yeah,
like,
you have to, like, have some jazz to it or something.
Like, if it was us and we were in this house and things were being knocked around and things were moving, like a broom was moving over here, this was happening, that would scare the shit out of us. But it's not something, some people will be like, oh, there's a reason behind that. There's this that could happen.
The broom grew legs and it walked, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And so I definitely think that they definitely played off of it to make money as a form of entertainment. And, you have to think. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I watch a lot of other paranormal investigators, and some people fake it. I really feel like some paranormal investigators to this day still do the same thing. Like, they'll knock down a camera and go running, but you never see anything, but it creates this element of excitement and, like, what the fuck was that? Camera. Or, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know what I'm talking about? Like, I think it's something that we see with paranormal investigation to this day.
I was gonna say, even me, when I was editing the video, like, sometimes things would happen that I'd be like, oh, that's kind of creepy, and then I realized, oh, that was just, like, my phone or something else, and I'm like, hey, maybe I'll lie, and I'm like, nah. You know what I mean?
We actually had that conversation, because last night I had to go through multiple hours of the camera we had left in our room that we were doing an investigation in, and see if we, like, caught anything while we were outside of the room. And each video was about 2 hours long.
Yeah.
And I'm, like, going through this video, and, like, I'm finding, like, creepy noises. We have one that we have to look for that we actually, I think, was probably one of the scarier things that happened in there when we were gone. But I was, like, hearing creaking noises, and it sounded like walking. There's one part, like, anyways.
Yeah, you gotta watch the video.
Very minuscule. But then I come across this one part, and it's light flashing.
Yeah, we had these little, like, cat balls, like the little motion censored cat balls or whatever, set up around the room. So we thought it was, like, one of those going off. And we were like, it keeps going off, like it was the same one or whatever. And then we listened, like, closer and louder and realized it was just, like, my phone going off.
I was so sad because I went through and found 4 different times that this light was flashing, the specific times and everything. And I was like, wow. I was like, each time's exactly 10 seconds. Well, that's crazy. Because I didn't hear the vibrate, because for whatever reason it wasn't that loud. I literally had my headphones in, turned up. I cut the video, sent it to you.
And it was louder.
And then I heard the vibrate because it was louder. And I don't know how that happened, but I was like, wait, did you have a fucking phone in there?
Yeah.
And she was like, low key, that might be my other phone.
Yeah, I do want to be, like, honest in our videos and stuff.
And I think that's kind of what we both decided. Like, Naomi and I, we've been planning to do this for a few years now, and we both have the same thing. Like, we want to be honest with what we find.
Yeah.
And I feel like we don't really want to embellish the truth.
Yeah.
Like, we both decided that. So any videos you see from us is, like, our
100% truth.
It's more stressful when you're in the moment than what it actually looks like on camera.
It's really unsettling, I feel like. Yeah, it definitely looks like, definitely when I was looking back and editing it, I was like, damn, we were being kind of, like, chickens, because, like, this really wasn't that scary, but we're looking at it behind a screen, you know?
When you're looking at, like, some of the night vision cameras.
Yeah.
It looks like it's lit up, but we're in the dark.
Yeah, and that was the one thing about night vision too, is there's no light.
It looks light when you're watching it on TV, and when I'm replaying the videos, but you have to think we couldn't see shit.
It's just like a little red light, like a really dim red light that reacts with the night vision. So we can't see anything. But the cameraman can.
And I had to remind myself that.
Yeah.
When I was going through it, I was like, oh yeah, we couldn't see anything, because I see us laughing, and I'm like, I like could barely like tell where the camera was sometimes.
Yeah.
Going back to Ed and Lorraine, I do think that some of it was real, and I think some of it they did embellish it to
little white lies or whatever.
Just keep that money flowing, keep people into it, like.
And it made good movies, so.
And it made great movies.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, that's why it's going to be so cool when we dive into this all deeper, and we're really going into more research on each individual story. Like,
yeah, because
they're
like
pretty
each
cool.
creepy things that happen in the
and
Conjuring.
not so cool. Some of them are not so cool at all. And actually, I'm about to get into a not so cool one.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get.
So I chose this one because I really liked this movie. It's a little older of a movie, but this happened in 1986, and this was the Snedeker House. Now, this is the story that inspired The Haunting in Connecticut.
This is the movie that inspired The Haunting.
Because I want to say The Haunting of Connecticut.
The Haunting of
I mean, Connecticut's such a small state. It's such a small state. It's like literally like...
I forget it even exists.
Smaller than my pinky. But I do want to go there. Like, we should go to the East Coast.
I want to go to Rhode Island.
Well, we definitely need to go to Massachusetts because we're going to go to Salem.
Yeah.
And maybe by next year, we're going to do an episode there.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Like, we're going to plan to go next fall. Maybe this fall. Why not?
Yeah, dude, aim high, bro. This is going to pop
Anything
up.
could happen. Well, this specific house that's in Connecticut, which isn't too far from Salem, is actually, you can visit it.
Okay.
You can visit it, but from the street, apparently people do live there, so you have to be respectful. But I wouldn't mind seeing it. So, do you remember what The Haunting in Connecticut is about?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
So, it was about a family that moves into a funeral home. So, the basement was actually a mortuary. When the family moved in, and this is all true. Okay. So, this is all true. So, the family moves into this house. It was a funeral home. The downstairs in the basement was a mortuary. They were finding drains that were used for blood. They were finding tools that were used to cut bodies apart, things like that, of that nature, right? Very spooky.
Yeah, really, really fun stuff.
That is true. So that is a true thing that did happen. That house was a funeral home. But in the movie and in real life, the family moves into that house because their son's battling cancer. That house was very close to where he was getting his cancer treatments because they were having to travel pretty far. Okay. And the family wasn't wealthy by any means. And they had to move somewhere that was affordable for their son to get these treatments. And it was just too much on him being sick like that, traveling back and forth.
Yeah.
So they end up moving into the house. And shortly after, randomly, why? I don't know why. But the son with cancer has to live in the basement.
What?
Yes. I'm sorry, if I had a kid that had cancer, he gets the best room in the whole fucking house.
Yeah,
like, I'm sorry, you're not staying in the creepy ass basement that has blood drains.
Can he
blood
walk
drains
and stuff?
I think he started deteriorating slowly. He had Hodgkin's disease, which I'm pretty sure is a blood cancer. I would have to Google that. And again, we'll tell these stories again in more depth, but they put the kid in the basement.
Dude, what?
So they put the sorry, I probably spit on the camera.
Them?
But they put the kid in the basement and he starts seeing fucking ghosts in a mortuary. Like,
wow,
and he's very, very ill. And so like he's like on that thin line of life and death. He starts seeing these ghosts. And
like more connected to the other side because he's on the edge.
Yeah. He starts seeing these ghosts, and you know, one of the reasons I really liked this movie is because it's like really scary. They're showing the ghosts this kid's seeing, and then in the movie, he actually ends up miraculously being free of cancer.
Was that real?
I do believe that part is real. I do think that he, after living in the house, was cured of cancer. They can't prove it was the spirits or like he just...
But it was just out of nowhere? He just like...
The movie, I mean, it seems like the spirits had good intentions in the end. I mean, that's my takeaway from the movie, and I always liked it because, like, during the whole movie, it's scary. Have you watched that movie?
I don't know. I feel like
it's really good. You should watch it,
and now I'm not sure.
Because it's scary, and then at the end, he's like saved from cancer, and like it was almost like those spirit, and like they ended up being able to move out because he didn't need the treatments anymore, and they get out of the house and stuff, and it was almost like those spirits from the movie were like living through him and like maybe helped him.
That's really helpful.
So
Thank
cool,
you.
right?
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I definitely plan on watching that tonight now. Funeral home, true. Cancer, true. Cancer cured, true.
Yep. And the Snedeker family started reporting very evil events in the house.
Evil events? True.
Ed and Lorraine did their thing and officially proclaimed the house was possessed. The whole house is motherfucking possessed.
Okay, cool, dude.
Yep, so they did that.
House.
After facts emerged about the oldest son, the one who was battling cancer. Yeah. So in the movie, interestingly enough, he was portrayed as a very innocent kid struggling with Hodgkin's disease. But he actually was dealing with other illnesses as well. One of them was he had a drug addiction.
Which makes you more susceptible to possessions, right? And stuff like that, or being under the influence, or...
He also was diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Okay, and he was downstairs in the basement on drugs.
With schizophrenia.
Low-key dying with schizophrenia.
And he also...
Okay, another one?
On one more.
Okay.
And then I'll get your comment after this.
Okay.
Admitted to being part of some of the really disturbing, gruesome things that happened in that house.
Like he did stuff and it wasn't a ghost, and he said that he had... Where is he now? What is he doing now? Is he alive?
We would have to look that up. I don't know. I didn't get that far. But we will when we go into the story. I
need to know.
One of the things, and this is really sad, and it sucks because I really liked this movie and like really thought it had like this positive like thing around it. You know, people accepting death and like helping, because again, I told you it was very scary. The spirits saved this kid. He's free of cancer.
Yeah.
Some people that lived in the house, there was also other people. I think they had 3 nieces living with them. And I think he had some siblings, and then there was the parents, right? But some of the nieces that were living in the house had said they were sexually assaulted. I'm not going to go too far into detail. Maybe when we do the episode on this specifically, you know, we'll rate it and we could go into these details. But again, he admitted to being part of some of these gruesome
I was going to say, I wonder if... Because they thought it was from the ghosts, but...
But these girls were young. One... Again, we'll get into... This is like just too deep, but I'm just saying like... Usually when something like that happens, someone sneaks into someone's room and does these things, and maybe the girl was blocking it out, and then they were talking about ghosts, the family. That is true. They were talking
maybe
about
more
these,
manipulated or tricked into thinking.
and then maybe she thought it was a ghost coming for her because they were kids. The family was claiming that there was hauntings and possessions, which I think could manipulate a young girl experiencing this, maybe thinking it is like a demon. Because I wouldn't want to think it was like my cousin or my brother. Yeah. I would rather think it was like a ghost that was just evil, you know?
She's just trying to block it out.
After finding all this information out about the son, that he was actually, you know, like you said earlier, doing drugs, diagnosed being schizophrenic, that maybe he wasn't really seeing these things.
You said he was the only one who actually saw things. The kids just had said that they had gotten sexually assaulted. That's all they have said about it? Or did they see things too?
So I don't really think they had seen things. Okay. This is just my memory from listening to something about this a few years ago, or maybe last year or something, is that they had stated that they were sexually assaulted. Yeah. And the kid that had cancer, dealing with schizophrenia and drugs and things like that, he was having breaks, mental breaks, and they were reporting like behavioral issues with him and like changes, like maybe that he was possessed or something like that. But also, if I remember correctly, I think the parents had kind of planned this because again, they didn't have very much money. Mm-hmm. And they were living in a funeral home, and then they kind of came up with this idea of maybe it could be
haunted or something.
Money, like, can we sell
like
this
they're
place?
Faking it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Is that It's just a theory?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay.
Yeah, but he actually admitted to doing that. He actually admitted to sexually assaulting them.
Yeah.
Yes, he did do that.
Okay, that's fucked up.
Something else that's pretty damning to the Warrens, not only finding out the information about the son, they had hired an author to write a book about this case. And there was conflicting information coming from the family and the Warrens, because the Warrens went in and did an investigation. They hired this author to do the book. They were getting, the author was getting contracting information that just wasn't adding up.
Different stories and stuff?
Like different stories, like it just wasn't making sense to him. And he was heavily encouraged to embellish the truth. And he does come out and state that. He said that he was encouraged to sensationalize the story.
This is one of their later stories though, right? Because it's happened in like the 80s or the 90s or something?
Yep, so maybe this is about 15 years after the Perron story. Because that started they moved there in 1971. Ed and Lorraine investigated in 74, so 12 years after that would be this.
Maybe they like did their investigation, thought they like caught a bunch of stuff when they realized it wasn't anything and it was just like the son. Maybe they were like, well, we're not going to waste our time. Like, let's write a story about it anyways or something, you know? Because we went out of our way.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, and I think the family like really wanted to make money off this, so I think they had a family that was like willing to kind of
let them embellish it a little bit.
Yeah, and kind of give like the listeners and watchers like what they needed, you know?
False.
Type situation. Another thing to keep in mind on this story is they had a neighbor. A neighbor lived above them in the same house.
Interesting. Okay.
And this neighbor claims to never have experienced any hauntings.
Yeah. This is starting to feel like a false story, okay? I'm really upset. So yeah, some stories made up, some not.
The family eventually moved out.
Yeah.
And another thing to keep in mind is there's been other families and other people that moved into this house, and no one has reported experiencing any other hauntings.
Yeah.
As well.
So it definitely was the schizophrenia and drugs.
Yeah.
That sucks.
And also, it's sad. I mean, yes, he was struggling with cancer, Hodgkin's disease, which is terrible. I've never wished that on anyone. But he also did some really horrible things to young children.
Not a good excuse either.
No,
I'm sorry you're dying of cancer. That sucks. But especially your own like sisters, right? That's what it was?
I think they were his cousins.
Oh.
Pretty sure there was nieces. And we'll definitely get into more detail. We're going to do each of these stories more in depth. We just kind of wanted to touch base on the Warrens because I was telling her about them, and I was telling her that they're kind of fakes and done fraudulent things, and she didn't really know that part about them. We're gonna have to do more on Ed and Lorraine Warren because there's so much about them. I think we should do an episode just them alone and just talk about their career and talk about
family backstories.
Yeah, backstories, more things of that nature. And then there's so many stories that we didn't even talk about. Like, these were just a few of their stories. They have so many investigations that turned into very famous stories. So this is the first episode of Scary Stories to Tell in Your Pajamas. And we're going to do more of them. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Let us know what you guys think. Also, we got our first shirts made.
Freaked and Geeked. I'm super excited. I got it made today.
If you guys are interested, let us know.
Yeah, we want to start selling them, and just trying to build a brand for ourselves, make a name for ourselves. We're in my bed in our PJs.
Trying to get a motherfucking scholarship.
Yeah, bro. Put me in college, bro. No. Smoke a little weed, tell little scary stories.
Do some ghost hunting.
Hang out in our pajamas.
Be chickens. I don't know.
Yeah.
So what do you think, listeners? Leave your comments below. Were Ed and Lorraine frauds, or was there a little bit of truth to their story? Let us know what you think. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe down below. We are Freaked and Geeked. And just remember, sometimes things get
a little freaky.
Just a little.
Say goodbye to Debbie the demonic doll.